Hey everybody, welcome back. It's early June here, so we're going to spend some time walking around looking at the hydrangeas. A lot of them are opened up and a few of them are still opening, but they're showing a lot of good color. So I'd like to walk you guys around and show you a few that are growing in the shade garden, a few out in the perimeter garden, and several that we have in the nursery right now. So let's have a look. First off is the Snow Queen oak leaf hydrangea. This here is probably about a 8 to 10 year old plant. I put it in here a couple years after I designed the shade garden, and these do really well in part shade. So they'll handle a lot of sun if they have enough moisture, but I usually like to put them in the shadier spot because they'll provide good color. And once from the initial leaf out to the bloom to the fall color, they look good from spring through fall. So that's always been a favorite of mine. And Snow Queen is I'd say a good old-fashioned variety that does really good. Nice sized leaves, good white flowers. They'll turn a little bit pinkish. Overall height, I'm expecting somewhere around 6-7 feet, give or take. It's a little dry in here, so this one hasn't been getting huge. And let's see, back up here by the hedge, I have a ruby slippers. Now, ruby slippers is known to turn a good dark shade of pink when the flowers mature. They don't color as well as I was hoping here in the shade, but it still performs very well. And I do have to water a bit in here because it gets pretty dry. The sycamore trees up here just suck all the water out, so this ends up being a little bit dry in here. So it's a little smaller than it would be if it were out in full sun, but it's doing pretty well. And while we're here, this Zelkova is one of the prettiest trees on the property here. Pretty hard to find, but I'm working on that for next season to try and get some of these in back in production again. So they'll tolerate shade. Love that tree. And back here on the fence, I have a hydrangea vine climbing up the fence, and then a golden oak leaf hydrangea called Little Honey. So the vine is a close relative of hydrangea. It's not a true hydrangea, but the flowers and leaf are you can see the resemblance. This one turns a light pink after the flowers fade a little bit, but and sun or shade on this here. They do best in part sun. In full sun they'll burn, so I don't like putting them in too much light. So if it's too much, they'll turn brown on the edges when it gets hot. Little Honey is one of my favorite oak leaves. It does get some size after a while. I saw one of these in a friend's garden that was probably 6 to 8 feet tall. But keep in mind it's probably 25 years old. She is quite the plant collector, and she bought hers when they were first out, and they've gotten quite large in time. And one I almost forgot about is on the sycamore tree here in the corner. I have another hydrangea vine on the sycamore. It's called Decameria. I'm seeing a few flowers right there at the base. So it's a little young, hasn't bloomed a whole lot, but I believe this here is actually a U.S. native. I want to say it's from the Carolinas, in that area, East Coast. Likes the shade, a little bit shiny. It'll handle some sun if it's got enough moisture, but again, I like putting them in the shade. They just perform better that way. So Um, right here in the middle, I have an incredible hydrangea. This is one that I really like. It's got extra large flowers, but now as you see, like I was saying, it gets dry in here, so the flowers are not as big as they could be. So if I would water it a lot, it would get a little bit bigger, but the sun makes a difference on that too. So if I had more sun, more water, you can have flowers that are 10 inches, 12 inches across. That's no joke. They get really big. The nice thing about this being in the shade though, it holds its color pretty much through the summer until fall. Like you'll still have white to lime green flowers on in August, September. Whereas my Annabelle, it's out in the sun. That one's pretty much browned out by the time August, September comes around. So the shade will really preserve the life of the flowers. Right behind me here, this one's called Penny Mac. This is a Hydrangea macrophylla, and yeah, mophead hydrangea, big leaf hydrangea, whatever you want to call it. This is one of the early rebloomers. So this one blooms on old wood and new wood. So we're seeing its flowers on the old wood right now, and it'll flower again in generally about September. We'll get a second shot of flowers, and it usually has some nice blooms about like this size here, this stage when it gets cold. So I've been able to cut and dry hydrangeas flowers off of this in here for about every year since I had it. So you will notice a few dead twigs on here, and they can be snapped off if they break off nice. And I don't like pruning them until they are pushing growth and pushing flower buds, because you always get a few buds coming up here on the tips. And if you are really looking to get it all cleaned up and all perfected in this early spring, you're going to knock off at least half of your flowers. So I leave them go and just kind of put up with the sticks until about now. Once they're flowering, you can see what needs to go. Another thing, and also the new growth will kind of swallow up a lot of the old sticks. So they'll hide all of that junk in there. And but the stuff that sticks up, I'll still take off. It just keeps it looking nicer. And yeah, this in here is blue to medium pink. So my soil is somewhat acidic. It's not super far either way. So you'll see a couple of different color flowers on them if they're about in the middle, I believe. So more acid, more blue, more lime, more pink. So that's how that works. And I've got a couple of them back in here in this corner. This one's called Lady in Red. And I've had a hard time finding it recently. I seemed to be available about 10 years ago, and kind of lost favor, I guess, and they're not as popular. But it's a wonderful plant, and it's pretty big. It's probably about 6 feet tall and wide, and it's planted towards the back, but it's coming out over on this side, and blooms heavily. Yeah, this is a good one here. You know what? I'm actually realizing right now, I think I might have two in here, because I noticed a different flower color here. And this is Lady in Red, and this is Tough Stuff. I forgot Tough Stuff was down in here, but that's why this one's more got a hotter pink with kind of a green center, and this is kind of a blush pink all the way through. They're both lace caps. Yeah, now I'm seeing, I was kind of wondering why this thing is so huge, but there's actually two side by side that kind of merged together, and it's working pretty good because they're both lace caps. I've already tried to mix lace cap and mophead hydrangeas in the same space, Over by my Snow Queen over there, I have a mop head right beside it, and I think I might move it sometime. It just doesn't look good. They're too distinct, while yet being somewhat similar in leaf, so it's a bad texture. So I'll have to change that. In the back there, I have one called Bloomstruck, but it's a little bit of a, it's kind of thrown in there and not really able to thrive too much, so probably can't really see that too well. But here again, these are more pink. If you don't know what your soil pH is, you can always plant a hydrangea or two and see what it does. If it's pink, you'll know it's more alkaline. If it's blue, it's going to be acidic. So then you can adjust it accordingly, from there. And yeah, I've not taken the time to put anything down to color these any different. But if I gave this a lot of either holly tone or aluminum sulfate, we could really make these like a vibrant blue. So yeah, it's kind of fun to experiment with. And now I know this isn't blooming yet, but if you would have seen the video from earlier when I was pruning my Great Star tree hydrangea, this is what happened, and it grew out really good. I've got a few buds up here on the top, so over the next month or so, they're going to be opening up. They're typically open by middle of July, and this would be just a shower of white flowers by then. So very cool plant, and yeah, looking forward to seeing that in flower. We'll probably do a video of the hydrangea paniculata once they're in bloom. That'll be a good month yet before they're showing color. So so we'll get there when we get there. And that about does it for here in the shade garden. I'll take you over to the perimeter planting where I've got a couple more planted, and we'll see how they're looking right now. All right, so this one here is called Annabelle, and this is same species as the Incredible. It's in the back. I'm a huge fan of this one here. Beautiful, large white flowers, a little bit of green in there, and they mature to, so they peak out at pure white, and then they'll go back to green, and then eventually turn brown as they dry up. So I'll get a good month of color out of this one, and yeah, it does wonderful here. So they like a little bit of shade if you can give it to them. So I have this planted on the north side of this sweet gum right here. So it gets some shade thrown on it about midday, and then it gets some more sun in the afternoon. So yeah, part of the hottest part of the day is shaded. And again, while we're here, I've been really intrigued with this combination here. This is Spagelia marilanica, what they call Indian pinks, I believe. Neat red flower with a yellow, it opens up to yellow, and that looks great with the hydrangea right there with those flowers. And then plus with the purple weigela and the golden holly. Yeah, nice combination. So I've got a few more hydrangeas down further here. Yeah, so this one here is called Haas Halo. This is a lace cap version of the Hydrangea arborescens. So same bloom time and same color. This one fades to a bit of green till it's done, but I'm going to say it's a little more white than Annabelle, but I'm going off memory again. So again, a little bit of shade on here is great, and they'll be about 4 to 5 feet high, and it tends to have more of an upright habit. Very neat plant. This was discovered, I want to say, in Maryland somewhere. I met the guy who introduced it, yeah, it's a really cool native hydrangea. So yeah, if you're looking to make a woodland garden, I would definitely consider putting in a couple of these. They'll really brighten up the shady area. Another one I've got just next to it, this is, let me think here, this is Hydrangea serrata shoujo. Pink or blue on this in here. Pretty sun tolerant, as long as it's got enough water. So it's doing all right. And here again, a couple of dead twigs in here that got to come out. At a glance, the Hydrangea serrata and Hydrangea macrophylla look about the same, but there are some differences between the two, which I couldn't tell you what those are. But this is referred to as mountain hydrangea, so it could be a bit of a difference in where it was, where they grow wild, as far as where, yeah. But they're very similar. And one that's not in bloom yet, but is a great one when it's out. This is called Wedding Gown. This is a double white Hydrangea macrophylla, and also a rebloomer. So this is pretty compact. They'll be right around two to three. This one's been maintaining itself right around about 2 by 2. It's been here a couple of years. Blooms great every year. And if, like I said, it's a rebloomer, so if it gets frozen, it'll all come back and flower a little bit later in the season. But wonderful plant. And I believe I've got a few more down the row here. Let's see if they're in bloom. Yeah, so this guy's not in bloom. This is a dwarf macrophylla called Pia, but yeah, this one only gets to about 18 inches, maybe 2 feet if you're lucky, but it's a small one, and pink or blue flowers. But I don't believe it blooms on new wood. So this one looks like it froze back a little bit, so probably no flowers for this season. But we'll see what it does later on, but I'm guessing this will just be a bunch of leaves this year, and yeah, no more flowers. So I want to talk about a couple of hydrangeas we have here at the nursery this year while they're in bloom. So this here is actually one of the Pia hydrangea that's in full bloom. So I shouldn't say full bloom, it's fully budded, starting to open up. So you can see the flower color, overall habit, and all that. So great little plant. They do pretty well in the sun. I think hydration is the key. So you want to keep them a little bit moist, not wet, but a little bit damp, so they don't droop too bad. Another new one here is called Pop Star. This is a lace cap from Endless Summer, from that series. Beautiful color, large flowers, deep green leaves. This one should do. This is looking like a really good plant. So, yeah, pretty excited about that one. And let's see, from last season, I've got a Summer Crush. Now we got some Summer Crush this year that were treated with the aluminum sulfate, and so they're like purple blue. This in here was not treated, and with the soil and water we have here, they're more pink. But wonderful plant, lots and lots of flowers, blooms heavier than a lot of them. So compared to the original Endless Summer or Penny Mac or Nantucket Blue, this one has probably another, I don't know, 40% more flowers than those. So great plant. And another good one here is Invincible Wee White. This is a compact hydrangea arborescens. So right around 2 feet on this in here, and sun or shade, a little more pink on here, and very tight habit. So very, very cool. Let's see. We also have some early blooms on one called Fire and Ice right in here. This is probably the earliest of the paniculata hydrangea. So they're not fully opened up, but they're pretty quick, and they'll be white turning to like a kind of dusty pink, kind of brownish pink with some flecks of darker shades in there. So very nice plant, about 6 by 6, I'm guessing, and yeah, that's a cool one. But like I said, we'll probably do another video with all of the Hydrangea paniculata some later time. And yeah, I want to show you what these can do, like what summer crush looks like if you got this thing treated properly. So I've got a few in the front that we can look at that have extremely purple flowers. So this in here is same as that pink one we just looked at, and as you can see, the color on this and this in here is showing a little bit more. These flowers are a little bit older. It is the most almost artificial looking color you've ever seen. It's glowing. I mean, it's got purple, a little bit of pink, really dark blue, like deep blue, and yeah. So if you treat with the aluminum sulfate to make your soil more acidic, you'll get really good looking flowers, about like this in here. And last but not least, I've got one more with a red flower. And this one is called Heartthrob. It's a bit more compact and has extra thick leaves, and the flower part here is a little bit larger, so you get a bigger petal and really good dark red. So this does have some bits of green in here while it's coloring up, so they're very striking. Yeah, but they'll mature to kind of a dark red, and at about this stage is about prime for cutting. So once the flower starts to get a little bit more solid, you can cut them and dry them. So okay, I thought I was done, but this is Bloomstruck, and this is the one we couldn't quite see back in the shade garden. So again, a little more compact, more compact than the original Endless Summer, and deeper flower color, deeper leaf color, quite cool. And pretty sun tolerant. I've seen some of these in landscapes that were out in the middle of nowhere, no shade whatsoever, and they were doing great. Again, I'd say water is going to be key. So if they don't dry out, they'll do just all right. So yeah, let's see. I probably have about 2 or 3 more we could look at, but I think that'll be all for today. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you again next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. To see more of our videos, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the notification bell so you can see when new videos get uploaded. And we'll see you again soon.